Hey everybody, it's Jacey, and I want to introduce you to our newest member of the Venture Crew, Missy. Missy is a writer, a storyteller, a poet, and just an amazing human being. She's so fun to talk to, she's super smart, and we love her so much. Please check out the description below for links to her work, and keep an eye on this channel for upcoming video content from Missy, including some really fun writing challenges. Today, I've got my good friend Missy on voice chat, and we are going to be drawing her character. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your character?
The character we decided on is Marley Triggs, who is the main character of a novel I want to eventually write. It's very
Yes.
conceptual stages of this point. Marley is a federal agent. She's very professional and like she's a career woman. Like she loves her family, she has a boyfriend, but she also like pushes private matters aside in favor of getting the job done. It's very important for her to finish her missions. And yeah, basically she's James Bond for the US government. Like she's like this assassin shadow government branch woman who goes after people who are dangerous.
Oh, nice. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so she has a lot of reason, like her missions are high stakes.
Mm-hmm.
So she has a lot of reason to say, yeah, okay, I have to put my private life aside to get this mission done. And that shows up in a couple different ways as
Mm-hmm.
far as I've planned it.
Okay.
Um, like for example, she missed her grandmother's funeral because of a mission,
Oh, wow.
and her mom is still really pissed about that.
Yeah.
Which fair, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely.
And her
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no,
I was just gonna
ask.
say, I actually, it's funny because I mean, I'm obviously not a federal agent or any
No.
kind of a, but I find that really relatable. That idea of like struggling where you like want to put work kind of first because when you do care a lot about your career, you kind of expect everybody else to sort of get that and just sort of give you slack, and sometimes that's not reasonable or realistic, especially in a case like
Hmm.
that where it disrupts like you being there for your family when they need you.
Yeah, so basic character conflict is really like this. She has this very important job and she is good at what she does and she wants to do it to the best of her ability.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side is like her boyfriend who hasn't even met her family yet, even though they've been together for what, like a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And her family who has like family events, like there's the funeral she missed and
Mm-hmm.
there's a wedding coming up and she still hasn't booked the flight, and her mom is all, well, when are you gonna come over here and we need to like prepare and practice, and what are you gonna come to this wedding? And
Right.
she is like, yeah, I'm kind of busy, but yeah, of course I'm coming, like this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she's gonna introduce her boyfriend to her family at that event. That's the plan. But it's like just 3 weeks off, and she still hasn't booked a flight
Oh,
because
jeez.
something is going on at work, which is really busy, and this kind of like tension, which
Right.
is what I'm hoping to like make the central conflict, like the theme of the book
Mm-hmm.
in the end. Okay, so from like the book goes on then because she realizes the boyfriend is not who she thought he was,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like an hacktivist, like a hacker activist,
Mm-hmm.
and is getting on the bad side of the government, and her former partner starts going after her boyfriend,
Oh,
like
jeez.
former work partner, like not
Right, right.
ex-boyfriend, but like former work partner, who is really pretty pissed at her for because he got injured because she left him at a mission to finish the mission, and now she chooses to defend her boyfriend over her job, and he's really pissed about that, and
Yeah.
she has to figure out what she wants. Like, she loves this person, this is her boyfriend, she can really imagine like sticking with him
Right.
for a long time. Like that's something she needs. He's something that grounds her. That's an anchor. But on the other hand, like she's always put her mission first, and now she kind of doesn't want to.
Right.
So how does she handle that? How does that work out?
So, like, just the part of the description you gave me was, that conflict between professionalism and personal relationships. Um,
Mm.
I feel like there's a lot to explore. I'm kind of just drawing poses right now, like really rough, to just kind of get a sense of like, some
What you wanna
different,
do?
yeah, just sort of some different scenarios that I can imagine this character in, based on what you've told me so far.
Mm.
And I'd love to come up with something that did have like a good like work-life balance, but I kind of feel like if we walk away from this with a couple of sketches that sort of work, I
That's
think that's
fine.
ideal. Yeah, because I'd like to also do like a really kind of more detailed like portrait. So I haven't really thought
Mm.
about clothes, if I'm being honest. I haven't really thought about anything. Like my references that I grabbed were, I'd asked you if there was any like celebrities that you had a vague likeness. So
Mm-hmm.
I pulled up those, um, and then I just kind of I was like kind of googling like federal agent and like you know, detectives, because I feel like you get kind of a similar vibe. And um, do you have any ideas? Should I just draw what I was kind of thinking, and then you'll give me feedback on the clothing, or do you
I mean,
have like
sure, no,
something in mind?
let's try different stuff out.
Okay,
Like,
cool.
try, part of this exercise is about you trying to figure out how to express character in your drawings, right? So, I think it's fine if you like try different stuff out and see where it takes you, and then we're gonna discuss what I kinda was immediately thinking of and what you were gonna thinking of, and then we're
Yeah,
gonna
that makes
see
sense.
maybe a combination or what works best. She's like super professional, but I don't want to go like the cold route because career women are always like the cold ass bitch,
Yeah, no,
and
that's a good
I don't want
point.
that. That's so stereotypical. Like, sure, stereotypes definitely have a place, and it makes sense to go
Sure,
for shorthand for some stuff, but I kind of
but
want to
your main
explore this.
character should be like more fleshed out than that, for
Right.
sure.
I want to
Yeah.
go like this person who is absolutely family oriented, but is in a business that doesn't really allow that for her. Like
Yeah,
that kind
that's a
of
really
vibe.
interesting conflict. Because it's kind of like that idea of like, okay, but I want to make this work and I want to have everything, and you can't always do that. And so yeah, I think that's a tricky thing to like work out. But I love that because you're absolutely right that we have like this kind of narrative in society that like women who care about their career are like cold and unfeeling, and
Mm,
and I don't think that's fair at all, because I don't think that happens a lot with men. I don't think men who care about their career are sometimes seen as like, oh, but like he's a good provider, and he
mm,
that's how he shows affection and care for his family. um, that's something that like I think that it's interesting to explore because it isn't really fair that we do that. And I think people are capable of being many things,
yeah.
and
Yeah, which is also like kind of like the boyfriend is like a sort of contrast to
mm-hmm,
that. His name is David. I
mm-hmm,
don't really have more about him at this point. Like he's supposed to be working IT for this really small startup company. Like nothing really stands out about him, but he's like this creative person who does photography and who's like the sensitive guy,
mm-hmm,
which is really what catches her attention about him.
mm-hmm.
So it's like almost a reverse of those stereotypes of that stereotypical relationship, but at the same time he's like an active hacktivist who goes like gray legal areas to like help whistleblowers on corporations who do illegal stuff, and
Oh, that's
who's
cool.
like
Okay.
he's like very active, and he goes about it like an illegal way while she does stuff that would absolutely be illegal, but she is like allowed to do that
Right,
because she has the license to kill.
right.
Right.
I like that dynamic. That already sounds super interesting.
It's supposed to be set in like modern times, like vaguely modern. I'm really not sure what to do with the agency at this point, but yeah, it's definitely more a present times story. Except I don't want to get too involved in the politics side. Like
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
not
blame
gonna.
you.
Yeah, it's already a hot pot, like this hot spot of politics at this moment.
Yeah.
That's never gonna age well.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's something like you want to have like kind of a timelessness to your story that it doesn't really
Mm,
work when you start working in like, you know, current event kind of politics stuff. Um and that's hard to do actually. I've been thinking a lot about like I'm working on kind of a story idea for a comic,
mm,
and it just makes sense for me to make it sort of like a modern sort of story,
mm,
because it's the the main character. Although I'm starting to wonder if I'm gonna actually stick with the same main character, or make it do more of an ensemble thing. I don't really know yet, but the main character is uh someone who is like technically a demon, and you know, so there's a lot of like demons and
mm,
angels kind of stuff in the story, and it makes sense to me to have it in like a modern setting because I think if it were like a fantasy setting, let's say, or like it just doesn't really make that have the same weight of like, oh, that's, you know, like you know what I mean, like the characters like finding out like those things are
mm.
real or whatever it is, like I like that kind of like juxtaposition of like real world
Not that,
versus, you know, like this whole
yeah, the
other side of things.
supernatural world
Yeah.
which is all around us, but we never knew,
Yeah, but I'm
kind of
also
thing.
kind of like at a certain level, I feel like it's hard to be it's hard to um like explore themes without it being very like heavy-handed and like, you know, like one to one, like you said, like political stuff. You don't want to get into that because like it's not really what your
Mm,
story is. And the more like the more close to reality your story is, the more like kind of easy or tempting it feels to like fit in things that,
mm.
you know, are like direct parallels
Yeah,
of
make references. On the other
yeah.
hand, I think every piece of media is always has always some sort of social commentary to it.
Yeah, I just think it's not as
That's
heavy-handed when it's like not a real world setting, if that makes
mm,
sense. Like you get to have like
though
a
I
allegory
mean
for stuff.
elves are always the racism people. Like that's always a metaphor for racism
Right.
because
Yeah,
elves are
that's
like, well, humans, blah blah blah, and you put elves in this as a racist in this society, especially often opposed to dwarves.
mhm.
Like you have a lot of social commentary in fantasy too. It's just easier to disentangle yourself from that and distance yourself from that and say, well, that wasn't the intended message.
Yeah,
Like that
exactly.
kind of thing.
Exactly. I think for me too is I don't want to make very heavy-handed statements about religion because I think like with like the idea of there being like angels and demons and heaven and hell, I think
Mm,
it can be very quick
that's
to
a very Christian. It's already a
yeah.
very Christian influence.
Yeah, and I
So.
feel like if it were a fantasy setting, though, it could be a little bit more like, oh, but it's this made up religion thing. And so I do kind of think I to avoid making like a religious statement, like maybe it would make sense for me to like make up like a kind of fantasy religion that exists in this like real world setting
Mm,
or something. I don't know. I've been told don't worry about it too hard. No
mm,
matter what you do, you're gonna offend people, and I'm like that. Yeah, there's something to
that's a
that.
fair point, definitely.
Yeah. I don't know why originally I wasn't picturing her in
Mm,
like
no,
pants and a
no, it's
jacket,
fine.
but it makes sense for
I've
like an
definitely
agent.
because I've been totally not getting back into James Bond again, but
Hmm.
I totally did the last couple days,
Oh, nice.
and I am so imagining her in like a lady suit right now, which would be so hot. But that's that's not character talking.
Yeah.
um, no, I can. I guess for me it really depends. Like I'm assuming she has some sort of uniform, like
Hmm.
not a cat suit because that's stupid.
No, I get you though.
No, but yeah, I guess I assume the agency has some sort of uniform with definitely some sort of like bulletproof vest,
Oh, that actually
which
makes
would have
sense.
to be
Yeah. Okay.
hidden by like a bit of looser cloth,
Yeah,
like
that makes
the
sense.
cloth above them. so to be hidden. But on the other hand, I am also imagining that depending on the event they go to, she has to dress up like certain ways to fit in to the crowd.
Right, that makes
Like,
sense.
I think it's definitely a very yeah, very dependent on circumstances kind of thing. I assume that in her spare time she dresses very like um, not casual exactly, but like looser clothes
Hmm.
where she can walk in easily. Like stuff that makes her just blend in enough that she doesn't feel like she doesn't want to stand out even in her usual day attire.
Right.
I'm actually really curious that you went for long hair, which is
I don't know why. I actually, it's weird. I was thinking short hair, and then I just started drawing her, and I was like, ah.
no, it kind of works. I've been imagining her with like, have you ever watched the movie Salt? She has like this almost bob cut of
Oh,
hair
okay,
that
yeah, yeah.
so I don't know why I'm stuck on that.
No,
Like
I think
I
let's try stuff out. Let's play around with some different things.
mm, I can also imagine if she has long hair that she pulls it up into like this very severe bun when she's like
Oh,
working.
yeah, that makes sense. Just so it's
Unless
like
it
completely.
because like long hair makes sense if she goes like undercover like with a dress and at a dinner party, I don't know, like that kind of stuff.
I
Because
think short could
everybody
work with
always
that too. What did I do here? Hold on. I'm
I
not.
don't know.
I'm like trying to like copy just her head and make it smaller because I think I made it too big. And every time I copy it, it's like no. Or try to resize it. What is going on? It's just my selection. I'm super confused.
I
Photoshop.
must
Why
say
you
out
do?
of
Oh,
the
I'm on the wrong channel.
sketches you have
Hey.
done so far, I think I like the one with the dress and I don't know what it is, a share.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
it's
I
just
like
kind of
that one
leaning on a
best
chair.
so far. Like
Okay, cool.
characterization wise, I don't know why. I really
It's a
love
little
the eyes and
softer, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I know I wanted her to be like sharp edges and all to
Mhm.
like represent her uh stubbornness and her like
There's kind of
she
a
is really stubborn. She is
vulnerability
very
there.
opinionated about what is right and what is wrong, and that's like kind of what I want to explore for her character because suddenly she is confronted with a boyfriend who thinks he's in the right, but
Right. Oops.
who has like who is doing illegal stuff for with good intentions, and she does legal stuff with not maybe the best intentions, like not that her intentions are necessarily bad, but she must realize that her superiors have a certain bias, that there's a reason that her government decides this is something we need to work on, and that is still a very human decision coming from a process of certain humans who have made that decision. And
Right.
that's something I think is gonna be fun to explore.
Okay, I'm excited that you said that because I think that gives me kind of a little bit more to like of like where to
To
go
work with.
from. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um.
don't really know because I feel like on the one hand I have this character concept absolutely locked down in my head, but on the other hand just like I don't even know who this character is yet because I haven't written her.
Right. Right. You just have like a lot of like notes and ideas.
I do have I have like sort of prototype story, which this one is originally based on,
Okay.
which I was no I've written a fan fiction earlier this year. Well, mostly last year. I've posted it earlier this year in February,
Oh, okay.
and
Nice.
yeah, it was basically the linchpin for my Patreon. It was the first story I was posting on there
Oh
of
wow.
the early
Okay.
access.
Cool.
So I felt like I had to have something big, and also that I needed to start at some point because I've been
Yes.
pushing it for over like a year and a half and like trying to get a backlog going, and it was never working because I always ended up posting my backlog anyway.
I do the same thing. I've been trying to like get ahead on like YouTube videos, but then I'm like, well, let me just publish it, and yeah, so I'm never actually ahead. Um,
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Yeah, so it was basically so I write for a fandom which is really niche. I've told you about it
mhm.
before. And basically it's like a criminals alternate universe of that fandom.
Okay. Oh, I think you told
Uh,
me that about that before too a little bit. That's
Probably
cool.
because it's definitely something I'm really proud of. So it's like there's the main story of that fan fiction is like they are all criminals,
Mhm.
and like the main pair, this boy and this girl, don't know each other as a criminal,
Okay.
and she's an assassin, and he's like hacker, faceman, negotiator type
Okay.
for a gangster crew, and she works alone basically, more or less.
Mhm.
And then she finds out that a fellow assassin is after her boyfriend. And she can't figure out why. She's trying to figure out. She's like, okay, so he likes photography. Maybe he took a photo of a crime accidentally. Like, she's been worried about that. And, like, tries to figure out why. And then she finds out he's a criminal.
Oh, that's
And
fun.
exactly, and then like this entire scene where they confront each other, and he finds out she's a criminal too, and
I
then they have to
love
work out:
that.
do we want to stay together? What's going to happen now? How do we deal with this? We both kind of lied, but we all both also kind of upset that the other person lied.
Yeah,
And
yeah. No, I think I love that. I think that's super fun.
yeah,
Um,
and also they end up in a threesome with with the assassin after him in the end, because that
that's
was the
amazing.
that's the original intention. I have no idea how I'm gonna tackle that in this book, if I want to tackle it the same way. Because, like, you can definitely see the parallels where I took, like, she's an assassin. Okay, so, and her former partner is after her boyfriend. Like, that kind of stuff. Like, you
Mhm.
can definitely see the parallels going there,
Yeah.
right? And it's just they're nominally the good guys, because I have so no I so no willpower, or I guess not willpower. I have no motivation to set up criminals to be sympathetic.
Mm.
Like, I don't want to weaken their badassness by like trying to make them sympathetic first. So
Right.
I thought if I flip it into like a legal situation where their motivations are already more like sympathetic, that would
That
like
makes
take that
sense.
issue out
Yeah.
for me.
No, that totally
Because
makes sense.
fanfiction has this really great premise of the people already love the characters. They know the
Right.
characters. They're invested in these
No,
characters.
that's actually a good point. I never really thought about that, but you kind of get to like do whatever you want with them because people already are invested.
Exactly. You can
Yeah.
also like distort the characters to such a point where they barely resemble their original selves, but people will still be into it because it's a sort of fantasy about what
Right.
these characters could be in different situations. And
Yeah, I love that
unle-
actually.
there's like a breaking point for everyone where they
Mhm.
go, this is not doing it for me anymore. But until
Hey,
that
what up,
point,
Taki?
hi Taki, until that point, you have like a lot of suspension of disbelief. That's where like there's a lot of overpowered Harry Potter stories out there. Like, Harry Potter was a really big fandom,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of where Harry just goes dark, Lord. There's a lot of stories where Harry is a superpowered new age Merlin or stuff like that, and it's believable because it's a power fantasy where our character, who
Right.
is so downtrodden in the original text, where he has to face such challenges, and we can just make him okay. Now he's badass. Now he can do whatever he wants. He's in the right because I'm saying he's in the right. That kind of thing, and
Right.
it has nothing, or almost nothing, to do with the original character anymore. But it's part of the fantasy, and we're still invested in this character because nominally he is the same character.
No, that totally makes sense. I
And you can't do that with original stuff.
Yeah, because people aren't gonna get invested in
Yeah,
your original
exactly, you need
work.
to hook them first. So I decided to make this all a bit easier on me. Like, I wanted to keep the concept basically,
Mhm.
but I didn't want to get into all the, yeah, okay, so she's assassin fire. She's still cool because she doesn't kill kids, and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, you have to like find all
she's
these.
totally against drugs or something. Like, that kind of justification just weakens the concept in my mind.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because then you spend a lot of time trying to establish that when it's not really central
Yeah,
to
and
your
also like
story.
you're trying to justify your character, and I just don't have the time on to
No,
spend on that.
that makes sense. That makes sense. That's I think a really clever way to solve that problem because I think like art and writing is a lot of it is like a lot of problem
Hmm.
solving and you have to figure out what works and what doesn't and why. All right, I'm not sure about her hair. What are you thinking of this face that I'm working on? Spending a little more time on the face in this drawing.
Hmm.
And I was kind of
I,
thinking about what you said about like a mix between sort of soft and kind of
hard edge.
angular.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
totally see that in her. I think you maybe try drawing her with her hair tied back loosely.
Okay, yeah, let me try
I
that.
think because you have the bangs sort of like drawn to the back already,
Yeah, no, I like that. That's a good idea. Let me see how that. So
if
I'm
that
just gonna
works.
kind of give her like a little bit of a bang in the front, and then
Mm.
let's see.
I really like the jawline and the mouth party. That really works for
Oh,
me.
cool. Okay, cool.
That's that's the problem is I tried really hard not to make myself an mental image of her yet because I don't really know, like I'm not even exactly sure which culture background she's
Yeah,
coming
I remember you
from.
saying that. So it's
Yeah,
kind
we
of
talked
like,
about that a bit because
and that
like
could dictate her appearance quite a bit.
yes, I'm kind of thinking of making her like second or third generation immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
Like her mother is like half American, half I don't know. I'm kind of like toying with Singapore, Malaysia, and the Philippines.
Oh, okay, cool.
Those are the cultures I've been kind of zeroing down on, mostly because I know some people from. Well, I know one person from Malaysia. I know one person from Singapore.
Would you say like maybe a darker skin tone for her then? Would kind of make sense, like tan a
Maybe.
little bit if she's got that kind
Mm,
of a
Vibe going, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
The people I
my
knew from
major
the
problem is I
Philippines
want
were
to
tan.
really look into those cultures first to see what fits my expectation the most. That I'm kind of what works best with the character concept I've got going,
Yeah, no, that
right?
totally makes sense.
And I'm kind of like towards drawn towards the Malaysia Singapore thing because I know people from there who I can ask, hey, can you help me with like the slang when her mother talks to her?
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah.
how
That's
can
just
I
really
get like
useful. To
how
like,
can I like drop without doing all the research basically, which
yeah,
not the point, but it's always better to get like an expert opinion on some things
definitely.
sometimes. And in this case, I already know who to ask, so
No,
I was
that's
kind of
super
like
useful.
I've read a piece from a Singaporean before
Hmm.
in this sort of Singlish, and it was kind of hard to understand at points, and there were some like linguistic quirks in there which I find really interesting, which I thought might be easy to give like this really quick characterization of her mom because her mom is not gonna have that many scenes.
Right.
Because I kind of wanna like show off her relationship, this tension with her family,
Hmm.
to like set up her character in the beginning, to set
Hmm.
up the
That
conflict in
makes
the
yeah, that
beginning
makes
before I
sense.
get to the meat of the conflict of the entire crisis with her boyfriend. Then have like later in the book have the reveal that what happened with her former partner who is now hunting her boyfriend and who's really upset about like her trying to hide her boyfriend basically
Yeah.
because she's helping him escape government agents, and that's really not okay in his book, especially since she left him
Right.
and he thought they had a friendship
Oops.
going.
No, I love this. I think this sounds
Yes.
really like a interesting story. I'm excited to be drawing her the more I like hear about her too because I feel like she is such like a relatable character to me of like that struggle between like your work life balance and being like
Mhm.
good at what you do and caring a lot about it and feeling like the work you do is important but having people around you kind of undermine you a little bit for like well we're important too and sometimes you can struggle between feeling guilt and feeling like you just don't get it and I don't know I really find this really interesting. All right, hey, I'm back. Oh, I like what you guys were talking about. Like a charm bracelet or something.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
that a lot.
charm. That's the word. I was totally looking up the dictionary word for for what I was trying to say.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. I like that a lot. Eld is really good at
A
coming up
detailed
with.
character design.
Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, I've actually described my ideas for characters to Eld and had him come up with really cool stuff to help
Really
me.
good
Yeah,
idea.
like there's little thing like, and I was trying to think a little bit about here. This is bugging me for some reason that it looks like she's shooting at the other figures. I'm like, it's just gonna move everything around because it's freaking me out. Um, but like Elda's really good at like coming up with like, okay, why would you put these features on this character? And I think what you were talking about of like she's someone who's like, you know, tough but also sensitive, and so I was trying to do that with like her face here is like she has kind of an angular jawline, she has kind of angular eyebrows, but she has very like her eyes are kind of doughy and big, and she has, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like they're kind of round and have that like innocent sort of look, I think it kind of makes her, you know, and her hair it's like tied back loose, but it like it feels very feminine and soft, and
I
I'm
don't know
hoping
why,
that
but
kind of.
it kind of reminds me of like a detective, like a police detective sort
Mm-hmm.
of vibe I'm getting from your drawing of that one.
Yeah, you know what, I'm not. I feel like I'm getting that vibe too. Do you think like a federal agent and like a detective would have a different sort of like like style clothing wise? Like you mentioned like a uniform almost, um, and
Yeah, I think she definitely less like I don't know, like a stealth uniform for like those hit and run assignments sort of thing. Like
Okay,
not where you go in undercover, but like where you go in and crawl through the mud, infiltrate the enemy building, and like I don't know, steal files, whatever,
okay,
or kill a target, sort of thing.
yeah, I feel like. It's a cliche. I feel like that kind of like is very easy to get into like leather cat suit kind of a vibe.
Yeah, that's I'm
um,
thinking like maybe more like maybe like camouflage almost, and either like maybe black brownish, but or dark blue camouflage maybe.
Camouflage.
Like
Okay.
because I don't want to fall in the trap of like catsuit. Like I don't
Yeah,
want to
I
go
get that.
the
Like,
like widow route because
yeah, that's I was gonna say it could be very easily a very a very Black Widow kind of vibe with a catsuit, but maybe something kind of in between, like sort of um like not a catsuit, but
more
like
Black Ops maybe.
yeah.
Yeah, Rainbow Six style.
Okay, yeah. Let me.
Rainbow Six is also a game where they have like these black with utility belt and like armored vests
Okay,
kind of
so
thing.
that's the vibe that I think. Okay, cool.
I think that's probably the best route to go.
All right, let me play around with that because I like that idea too. Let me figure this out. So like a belt, and she would have
I
a
mean,
gun.
you can have a hip holster,
Mm-hmm.
or you could have like a tie holster, I suppose.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Either of those would work. Tie holster seems to be more often the female aesthetic. I don't know, probably because ties and like holsters.
I know Eld talks a lot about when he's designing characters that the poses are kind of the most important thing because it gives you like the energy of the character.
Mm-hmm.
And my instinct was to say like, okay, I'm not going to worry too much about the pose right now and just work on the outfit. But I think that actually does make sense that you have to think
To
about the
figure out the
pose.
pose first. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's going to dictate a lot about the character.
Mm-hmm.
And if you
I
ignore that,
mm-hmm.
you're going to be just missing stuff. It's just going to look too generic.
I'm thinking like I'm trying to figure this out too because I'm like a very solution oriented person. And like either I would have like the other hand like drop loosely at her side, like sort of ready, or like across her body, I guess, like protecting her stomach. I don't know. Like what I'm
That's actually interesting. Okay, yeah, I like
so
that.
I think that would shift the shoulders forwards to like a more combat ready almost.
Oh,
I
I'm
don't
trying
know if
to.
that would work for you.
I like the idea of like her hand across her body and like it's a sort of a protection thing. So I think there's that idea of like she's sort of vulnerable. a
Mm.
little bit, and that would kind of convey that
So,
to some degree.
yeah.
I'm trying. So I'm actually looking at right now a picture of the characters from Agents of Shield,
Oh
because
yeah,
they
that's
have kind
also
of
a
a
good one.
cool look for like.
Uh-huh.
So I like this. There's like there's kind of like a jacket vest thing, and it's like
Mhm.
leathery looking and like dark, and then there's like sleeves underneath, or like they're just wearing like sleeve shirts underneath that, and it
Mhm.
kind of has like the silhouette feels a little bit catsuit, but it doesn't feel like a catsuit, which I like.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that this kind of pulls
Might
off,
work.
yeah, that sort of vibe a little bit, and then I'm gonna do a holster, just sort of like a belt thingy, and I'm like trying to figure out. I'm like, how? Hold on. I'm just gonna
How
have to
that
look
might
up a
work.
reference.
You know, as I'm looking at this pose, like it's such a dramatic, like such a character pose, like
Mm-hmm.
a character, which is totally absolutely what we're doing here, like this character expression design thing.
Yeah, yeah. I know it's kind of a
Uh,
silly pose for like real life that you wouldn't necessarily stand
well,
like that.
yes,
It's more
but
like a
I'm
movie
I'm also like
poster
thinking
promo
like
pose.
put like a locket or something like that in her hand, like to symbolize maybe like her family or like you can know
Oh,
those
like she's
lockets which have
holding
a photo
something.
inside of them,
Yeah.
and you don't see the photo, but you see her, the locket. Maybe even nah, I don't think heart shape would work well, but like just to symbolize this this definitely jewelry she is not wearing, not hers. Maybe her
Oh
boyfriend's
yeah.
even
I kind of like that. Yeah.
that kind of symbolizes her relationship to other humans, and she's clutching it to her chest, kind of vibe.
Yeah, I like that. What's kind of cool too is like she's not wearing it. So you mentioned like that you were glad she didn't have a necklace on because it's not
Hmm.
practical, but maybe she's holding it because she's struggling with
Necklaces.
the fact that like this isn't
Mm,
practical, and she doesn't want to wear it
mm,
because it's not practical, but she
but it
wants to
means
hold on to
something.
it. Yeah, so maybe it's something she like keeps in a pocket normally, and just because it's not practical to wear it, maybe she gets
That would work
criticized
really well.
for
Like a
never
locket
wearing
with
it.
a picture, like on the one hand, like a picture of her family, and on the other hand, like a picture of her boyfriend,
Yeah, I like
which she
that.
like keeps in her locker or something, and then
Yeah,
like
yeah, I like that, and it's something like she's like it's important to her, so she wants to have it close, but she just like it interferes, and that's a good metaphor for the entire thing of like you
right.
know what she's kind of struggling with. Cool. See, this is one of
I
those
need
things
I
where I
need
feel like
I
it's
need
fun
to
to
work
build
that into the
together.
book now. It's such a great metaphor too for like
Yeah.
the entire character arc.
Yeah, no, I think that's cool, and like it could be like a point of contention, like you never wear it, and she's just like, well, I can't wear it, but like I keep it nearby, or like I think
Mm.
that could be kind of a cool thing, because
Well,
that's what she struggles with.
I think I I'm still like I think her boyfriend doesn't know exactly what she does. He knows she works for the
Oh, okay.
he has, like he knows, okay, she works for the government. She's like maybe they joke about her being a paper pusher or something like that, and or maybe I'm not sure exactly which route to go with it, but I'm definitely gonna keep that we're both keeping secrets from each other kind of vibe.
Yes. No, I do love that.
It's very important to have your plot arc and your relationship arc sort of end on at the same, not at the same height, but almost in the same breath.
Okay.
uh you don't want to have like finish the plot halfway through the book and then have the rest of the book just be the fluff relationship
That makes
development,
sense. Yeah, because
right?
then it's just kind of like, why are you reading this at this point? It's
Exactly,
the
because
conflict is solved. We're just learning now more. About, yeah, no, that totally makes
if you do
sense.
you want always you want to have like several balls in the air. You want to juggle those.
It's funny because it's something I wouldn't have thought about necessarily. Like, so I'm not
Mm,
really a writer, but like thinking about like my favorite stories versus some. I've read a couple of like books that I was just like, wow, this is really boring, and I'm thinking about it, and I think that's why is because like their main conflict gets solved like
mm,
3/4 of the way through, and then the rest of it is just like dealing with other stuff, and it is kind of dull. Like you need to have, like you said, like
yeah,
several balls in the air.
which it makes sense for fan fiction that you can keep it more separate there. And I'm not super happy with the solution I came up with, but it was actually well received, because in fan fiction you read it for the characters,
Right. That makes sense.
because you read it for that relationship, that because it's tagged for that relationship, so you expect that relationship to happen and you're excited for it to happen. So you a lot of people read fan fiction which are only about relationship development.
I think that's like really like when you break it down, that's what people are interested about in any kind of story in any genre is you know
Mm.
relationships um and like the human element. But it's you know for something like this like you want to make sure that you're writing about those things from a perspective of like that you know conflict and growth and all those things as we're like fanfics is just like fun like you don't need those characters to grow you just want to have fun with them so that totally makes sense.
And there is a really great fan fiction out there which has character growth, which has plot, which has really almost not just almost sometimes even better than novels
That's awesome.
tension, and those are amazing, and those writers are amazing. But also the fan fiction provides you with a platform for exploring other stuff, for like splitting those different things apart and just working on relationship development. That's something I've done for a while now. It's just I've taken the plot out of it and just worked on how do these two characters interact and how does that resolve?
That's
What's the
actually
conflict?
cool. Like I never thought about it before, but it's similar to like you know with drawing that you kind of you kind of just explore like when you're drawing when you're doing like fan art you're like oh I'm going to draw this character but in this specific situation in this specific pose and you're just playing with a
Mm-hmm.
character you didn't have to do all the work of creating that character establishing what they look like or who they are you're able to just sort of do the fun part and like play around with them you know already finished that makes sense that like fan fiction it sounds like a good exercise for writers to just
Mm-hmm.
you know get their
And
feet with character development
yeah,
without you know an interaction without
and you
having
also
to
got an inbuilt audience. Like you don't have
yeah
to work to get those people to like your stuff first, because you can say, hey, this is stuff based on stuff you like that I like too, and I made stuff for it.
yeah
And then people are gonna check it out, and some people hang around, and that's really great. Like this sort of sharing, and I want to really I want to emphasize that fan fiction is not just exercise, because that's something a lot of professional writers have been taking this slant. Not all, but some have taken this slant. You use fan fiction as practice until you're good enough to write your own stuff, which is something you can do, but it's
hmm
not necessarily the goal, and it's not necessarily what fan fiction is for. You
that's
know?
interesting yeah that actually makes a lot of sense I think that's fair to say too with like fan artists versus like people who are doing original work that there are some people who are like happy to be in that space and it's not
Mm,
practice for them it's what they do like
it's
that is a
community.
yeah that is a good thing to keep in mind that like not everybody has that goal necessarily
So.
of like this is my jumping off point it's like no this is
Mm,
what I do and what I enjoy
So for me, it's always been I wanted to write fan fiction to share with others
mm-hmm.
like the same stuff that I do,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of worked out that way. That I'm at a point now where I can take those storylines I've created for these characters and be like, "This is cool. I want to explore this more." Or where I can be like, I can use it as a jumping off point, because a lot of my creativity goes into fan fiction and building stories for these characters and these ships.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really, I'm not really having an easy time to think of original stuff in quotes,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of my original stuff is a lot more fun for me if I put those characters in it. So I write a lot of alternate universes,
Oh
because
that's
it's more
fun
fun
yeah
to like world build and set these characters in other situations than the original situation, and I love that. I love like the conflict that arises there to keep the same character but a different situation.
yeah
That's fun for me, and I do a lot of this world building, so I can take that world then and say, okay, so what if these characters are slightly different? And if I give, I don't like this sort of like just slap a new name on it and call it original approach, because
right
that's still not what I'm going for.
right
But at this point, I'm already so much divorced from the original content, especially in the fandom where I'm currently in, which is doesn't really have like the original source.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a lot of freedom to play there. And the most this character, like Marley Tricks, the most she retains from her original inspiration at
Mm-hmm.
this point
Mm-hmm.
is that she's female
Uh-huh.
and her initials. Like I based her initials on the
Oh.
same initials as the character she's based on. And I'm not gonna say more than that. Like there's gonna be a whole Patreon post about how I came up with the
Oh,
concept. And
cool. Oh, I love stuff like that behind the scenes sort of
yeah,
insight. Yeah, that's awesome.
like I told you earlier, I've been meaning to write that up until my hands like gave out on me. So it was supposed to go up this month, but it's gonna go up next month or so when I finished
That's
like
awesome.
aligning out the concept.
That's so awesome. Yeah, no, I like though that like I think that's something that I do too, where like I'll take like an old sketch and kind of make it something that's like unrecognizable from what I did before.
Mm,
I think it's cool to be able to like just find inspiration from like your own work like that, because
mm.
it's not the same thing, but it's just like that kind of starting off point for like you get like an idea going and then you go from
Mhm.
there. Like I think that's like a big part of the creative process, is to be able to just sort of take something, a starting point, and then you might change it to where it's unrecognizable, but like it I feel like I'm rambling because it's super early for me, and I'm like, am I making
No, it's
sense?
fine.
But
I've been rambling all the time too.
no,
So.
it's all good. But like I think that's helpful to be able to say like, okay, I'm gonna take this idea, and then you keep making changes to where it's not recognizable, but like what you get out of that is like
Mhm.
you started, and you were able to
Yeah,
go somewhere with it.
exactly. It's also you can have an idea in your head for forever, but actually putting it to paper is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I have such a huge like advantage here because I already wrote like 30,000 words about a story similar to this, which I'm basing the entire concept out of. That I have like I've already written this story once.
Mm-hmm.
I can not use it as my first draft, but I know where my problem points were in that story, so I can
Yeah.
approach it differently. I know that the threesome relationship didn't really work out well because I didn't pace it enough, because I didn't give it enough time to develop,
Mm-hmm.
because the plot was over, because the relationship was over. So I know to approach that differently, right? So if that ends up with just the two of them in a relationship instead of three of them, that's fine though, because I also want to explore the female male friendship relationship. That's also something that's not often
Yes.
explored.
Yes, I agree with that actually. I think there's a lot of I hate that like basically like every like story has that like, oh, like whenever there's like characters that started off as friends, it's like ends up being
They
like
always
they're
love interest.
together. Yeah, and it's like that's not real life though. And
It's not, no.
one of my favorite things actually in like Brooklyn Nine-Nine is there are two characters where in the
Mm,
beginning, one of the characters had like a huge crush on another character, and she ended up kind of rejecting him, and they just moved on from that and were friends, and it wasn't
right.
weird. And I was like, thank you for that portrayal, because it always ends up being this thing where it's like that person is pining forever and the other person's expected to give them a chance, and it's usually the guy's pining for the girl, and she's
And
sh
she is supposed to end up with him because
yeah.
he's pining for her.
Mm-hmm.
Mm? No, I totally get what you mean.
Yeah, and I think it's important to like explore like platonic relationships between men and women, and show that like friendships can exist, and there doesn't have to be sexual tension. There doesn't have to be, and maybe there is at one point, but you can get over that if you're like a mature
Hmm.
person. And I think it's important to like to show that and have that
I
be.
can totally see like him having a crush on her, and she is just too professional to do anything,
Mm-hmm.
and just not interested because she's too professional, because it's a work relationship and she wants it to be a work relationship, you
Yeah.
know? I
Yeah.
can totally see that for her character
Yeah.
working
No, that
out.
totally makes sense, because like
Which would also like heighten his like he's gotten over his crush at that point. He must have. But
right.
it would also be like you left me behind, but you're going after him because you love him. I didn't mean enough to you for you to save me. You put the
Right.
mission
Oh wow.
before
Yeah.
me So that's already the contrast I'm going for. I was going for more a friendship angle,
Mm-hmm.
and also from her perspective, it's totally different. Like she is, yeah, but you're a government agent. You knew what you signed up for when you became an assassin. We're both assassins. We both know the danger of our job. We both know we're gonna die eventually, probably on the job.
Right.
And this is my boyfriend, who is a hacker and an activist, and he's a civilian. That's different,
Right. So yeah, so she
right?
feels like more inclined to like want to protect someone who is a civilian. And
Yeah.
it's someone that she's romantically interested in. How are you feeling about this? So I came in with two different kind of color schemes here.
Hmm.
Um, so I went with this kind of blue because we talked about blue, but then I also went with sort of like it's almost like a military kind of a green, kind
Yes,
of.
I always blue is my favorite color, so I will always love blue. I actually think the green works a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Like
It feels
I
less
get why you,
police, right? I feel like the blue looked very
yeah.
police. Hey, what's up,
It also
James?
feels more like this camouflage what we were talking
Mm-hmm.
about.
Mm-hmm.
About like depending on where it's probably easier to not spot someone in like greenish brown. Though it depends definitely
Depends on the
on the
setting,
background.
yeah, for sure. Because
Yeah.
if you're not like at night in a city, maybe the blue would blend in more.
Mm,
Versus the green might like if you're outside and maybe she's I don't know.
countries.
Yeah,
Mm.
so it kind of depends. I kind of and then
I
another
like
option too
both of
would
them,
to
though I
be
think the blue is
kind of go more gray.
like I think the blue is like overdone. Like that's the typical SWAT color. That's the typical police
Yeah.
color. That's the
Oops.
typical color that's portrayed in I don't know any movie ever.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So maybe it's too close to other references.
And then I just did one where it's more of a just kind of a gray, which I think that works as well too. Depending on the
Mm.
setting, like the gray might make sense as well. Um, I think my eye is going to the green as like the one that I like. But what do you think of this like pose and like her face and like how are you feeling about this in general?
I absolutely I love the pose. The pose is absolutely gorgeous. Like with her drawing her weapon and clutching the locket, I'm absolutely in awe and blown away.
Yeah.
I absolutely
That's...
love her face. I adore her face.
Oh, awesome. I'm glad.
That sort of like she can totally pass for like this innocent doe-eyed woman, and
Mhm.
she's totally not. Like that's such a juxtaposition, and I
Yeah.
love that.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
glad. I'm really glad. I feel like we like through discussion got like very much on the same page very quickly. That's
Mm.
great.
Yeah,
So what are you
I
thinking
also
of
agree.
her? I did a little portrait here. I feel like her
Mm.
head is shaped weird. Let me flip it again. Um,
I'm not sure I'm too fond of the ponytail, to be honest.
oh, okay, yeah.
Or
I know you
maybe
said like
keep the bangs shorter.
a
Like
a
I'm not
bun or
I'm not
something.
quite. Yeah.
I did a
Yeah, I saw
ponytail
you
just
were
because
like erasing and doing it again,
I'm not
erasing and doing
super
it
good at drawing buns. I think that's why I was like ponytail. But
again. That's fine.
no, it could be.
Mm.
I could go with like
And
that kind
maybe
of
keep the bangs
messy,
a
a little
little
shorter.
shorter.
Yeah, they're kind of
Yeah.
long. I'm not sure why they got so
Yeah.
long here.
Maybe because it fit better with the ponytail. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, no, that's I'm really amazed at what you've done, like from the sketches, like where we started with the super cool gun running pose to the
We
like
got a little
seductive I'm
softer.
in a dress.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was kind of like I was like, let me start extremes and then we'll work our way back, and I think that
Yeah.
kind of worked. I think the more you talked about the character too, the more I kind of got from like, okay, like what is she really like versus like those tropes. Like I kind of got those like
Mm.
out of the way. I feel like a little bit, hopefully. Is that like better with like sort of a just like a loose bun?
I'm also really fascinated because I totally saw her with like this short
Hey, what up,
bob
Tangy? Uh
first, and that's the one I like the least. I must admit,
huh.
like just from a concept point, that's the
Yeah. That
I'm
is
really
funny, cause yeah, like
yeah,
I don't, and that could just be that like I made her face really angular, and it's the like it could just
maybe,
be the
but
whole thing you don't like,
it
but
just it doesn't work as well as I imagined it, sorta.
I feel like this was a really fun exercise. I hope that you're into this, and we could revisit this at some point if you want
Mm,
and
I'm
refine
super
this,
into it,
but
and I also feel like I have like a lot more ideas about who she is myself now, like about who she is
oh
and
cool,
what
just
I
being
want to
able
do.
to
Like
kind of
the
talk
entire
about her.
locket thing is gonna be a scene at least.
Yes, that's so
Be a
cool.
recurring theme
That's so
that's gonna go
cool.
in there. I really love what the pose, the whole thing, like maybe a bit her expression,
Mhm.
like it's still pretty. It's pretty. It's a pretty expression,
Mhm.
if you know what I mean, right?
Mhm.
Maybe work on that maybe a bit more, but
What do you think you would
it's a
do to
sketch.
change the expression? Like, what do you imagine
I don't
her
know,
a little
like
tougher or
make her look a bit more serious. I
more
think
serious? I
she
think this
looks a
one
bit
got serious. The first sketch I did of like her
right.
face, I think that one's a lot more serious. I think it's the angle of the eyebrows, and
Yeah,
I think I was making her look a little bit more like lost in thought and yeah, not as serious in the other one.
that's really nitpicky at that point.
No, no, no. I think
But
nitpicky's good. Um, because I think that's like where you get like, okay, this is the right character. So let me real quick, let me see if I can actually make a change that would that would do that.
all right,
I just made a little change to her expression. I'm
all
just
right.
curious. So I'll kind of there's the delay, so it'll take you a second, but
Uh,
I kind
no,
of
I
like
see the
made
switching.
her eyebrows a little bit
Uh,
more angular, and I closed her mouth was kind of open. I closed it. Do you think? And here you can
mhm.
see them side by side. Does that kind of fix the expression a little bit more to where she's just like,
A bit more serious. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I think that works.
cool.
That she looks more determined now. I think.
Yeah, yeah, she does. I like that instead of before she looked a little bit like lost in thought or something
A
maybe,
bit
which
more
doesn't.
shocked or surprised. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So
but
I
also
think this
just
is
a
more
little.
fitting.
So that yeah, no,
This is cool.
that's great. This is
Um,
fun.
this is super fun. Thank you for doing this with me, Missy.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe for more art challenges and creative content from Venture Crew.